I don't mean to interject. We're about 7 minutes behind. So I figure we could get cracking and let's see if this I would not. Oh wait. Oh, you can hear my microphone. Everyone can hear my microphone. We should just start the show, eh?
Hey, we
We
should.
should.
Nope.
Nope.
Stop. We should start the show. Can you guys chat?
I
Hi.
can.
Great.
Hello.
It's
Fantastic.
looking good. Hello.
Does the video look okay?
Yes.
Looks
It does.
great.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's time to burp. My tummy. But in the before show, I was doing my impersonation of some of the aliens in the audiobook, and it required me to breathe in so much air because the alien sounds ridiculous that it actually hurt my tummy. So, I have more admiration then for the narrator because he was the whole book. So, and what is the heir to the empire? What's up, everyone? We've been reading the Thrawn Ascendency trilogy all throughout May for Star Wars month. Timothy Zahn email bounced. By the way, guys, I emailed him. The email bounced, so we need to try and find another email for Timothy. He's basically Mr. Thrawn. He's created this character way back in the 90s when Legends were expanded universe and anything could happen. And it's since been canonized in 2017 with a trilogy, and now in the early 2020s with another trilogy. And it's all kind of set up for the Thrawn that we've seen in Rebels and then again in Ahsoka. It's really cool that we do have the cool things about Thrawn is that he survived being a Legends character. There's not many that were hand-plucked and made to two. Who are the other ones, Tim? There's Thrawn and there's...
Thrawn and Darth Bane.
Oh, yeah, technically, yeah. What about Cad Bane?
No, he wasn't in Legends as far as I know.
All right, he's just Clone Wars. Dave Filoni, who's kind of taken over George Lucas as the creative in this portion of Star Wars, obviously loved Thrawn and made sure that he continued the legacy. We never got Mara Jade, which is probably, yes, KP Dubs, one of the biggest tragedies. Not only the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Is he a tragedy? It is a tragedy. But the fact that...
It's a matter of perspective if it's a tragedy or not. It's a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view. P.S. Blasters, uncivilized weapon. Mara Jade would have been great. Didn't happen. Thrawn did happen and continues to happen. Previously, on Thrawn Ascendency Book 1 and 2, we've talked about the fact that Timothy Zahn doesn't necessarily have a deep playground to play and to create and to bring Thrawn to life. He's sort of got a little window in the... They're in the outer rim. They're like far away from all the stuff, aren't they? They're in the Chiss are kind of like, where? What? How? They're just like... Side note, Plagueis died like a bitch. Well...
He did. If you read the book...
I have the book.
Have you read the book?
Sidious did that, didn't he? Sidious was his apprentice.
Darth Sidious was his apprentice, and he killed him in his sleep with poison. Died like a bitch. That's
a bitch move from Sidious, though.
Yeah.
No, he killed like a Sith.
It's kind of like when
the true Sith.
Lysander shot Alexander. You're just like, what a punk.
No, not quite like that.
But
are you saying Plagueis is essentially Alexander?
Yeah, they both didn't want to die, but here we are.
Okay.
I'll put it to you this way. When I read Darth Plagueis, and that was how Darth Sidious killed him, I lost a lot of respect for Darth Sidious.
I think that's the point. I think we're not supposed to respect any part of this man.
No wonder he got picked up and thrown across the Death Star.
Have you heard the tales
Yeah,
of
I hear what you're saying,
Vegas?
but Bane would have been like good, right? Like he's just following what Bane's natural conclusion. All right, we're way off topic.
Bane?
I suppose.
Was it Bane who discovered or put into force the rule of two?
Yes, Bane
Yes, that was
instituted
Bane.
the rule of two, but Bane's whole thing was he wanted to keep the Sith quiet, and the idea was you're supposed to overpower your master. There's no way on God's green earth poisoning somebody while they sleep is overpowering
I agree.
No.
One might call that
wasn't.
a pretty insidious move.
No.
Academic, I will die on this hill.
Yeah, Bane's ideology was essentially if the master was strong enough, then they should have been able to not been overpowered even through poison, right? Like that was the
Palpatine
through
waited
lines.
until the master was 190 years old and
Pretty good
frail, and then killed him.
So it was time. Okay.
Anyway, we're
All
going
he
to talk
did was
about
weaken
anything
the
but
Sith.
Thrawn Ascendency. Ha ha ha! Welcome. So if you're here to talk about the book, psych. No, kidding. We're going to talk about a lot of Star Wars lore and legacy. Hello, Adam Vision. He just comments, Maude Garrett. Is that a boo?
What are you booing?
Who did
Adam
that?
Adam Vision.
Why are
Yeah,
we
of course.
booing Adam Vision?
Well, because we only said his name once and he showed
My
up.
finger, my
Again?
finger was hovering over the sound. You said Adam Vision. I'm like, oh well, click.
Whose Discord has booing?
That's Matt Dinneman. That's
I'll give you one guess. Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like the ability to boo people on command. That's terrible. Thank you, Dion Blade, for the follow. Welcome to Maude's Book Club. All of May has been Star Wars month, and we have been reading Thrawn Ascendency. Now, I have rated them on Goodreads 3 out of 5. Did I mean that? No. I'm going back and changing them. I found the series to be frightfully boring, to not have as much depth. I wish that there was a lot more collusion. I wish there was a lot more intrigue. I wish there was a lot more backstabbing. I'm going to take this time that if you did like the Chiss Ascendancy dynamics of houses trying to vie for power, please consider reading R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt series about, especially if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, because it's about a night elf, a drow, who lives in the underground city of Menzenberenzan, and basically it is a matriarchy where women are superior and men suck, but there is also an incredible power struggle between the houses, and it's done in a way that I feel is exciting and violent and scary and, unsafe, whereas this one just felt like, how do I say this without upsetting people, and how do I put it in a delicate way? People that get very excited over tutorial manuals
What?
would like this book. I feel like people that are by the book, they're either lawful good or chaotic good, but the good remained. That premise, it was muted. What was muted? Oi. I think Star Wars is at its best when it challenges and expands and takes risk, and people can die. But that's my thought. I also was listening to it, and I found the narrator really put a lot of effort into it. And I do want to say that I just felt the base narration was a little pandering, done in a way where it was just like talking to a child, I felt. And there was a plethora, the whole gamut of different aliens, and the choices that were made to voice said aliens really took away from the story, because the whole book just ended up becoming noises, a series of noises strung together that my brain struggled to grasp. Academic says there was a ton of voices for the narration. I wouldn't have personally chosen all of them, but I do give 5 stars for the effort. Well said. That's nicer than me. I don't think we should ever do a trilogy again, because the risk is way too high that if we don't love the first one and we're still not hooked by the second one, the third one is borderline torture. So that was a learning lesson that I had. Occult Stool says Cheery's voice, the whiny voice, Cheery sounded like this, and it's a grown man. It's a grown man being like, what do you mean? That was a little interesting as well. But I mean, like, he is a grown man trying to voice a 10-year-old girl, so I understand that as well. Colleen says, I read the physical book. Maybe that made a difference. I actually got the book on Kindle for less than $5, which is great. And I did read the first few chapters, but I ended up running into a different set of problems, and that was all of the very long-winded names being spelt out. And it would sort of bog me down and stop me, so there was no sort of flow within the story, but it did help. I will say that listening to it, the characters were so distinct that I knew who was talking. I just can't tell you what their name is. So I again implore all the help from everyone in the community with all the names and what happened. But they're my thoughts. I'd like to hear from everyone else. What did you give this book out of 5? Is book good? And because I've just trashed it, KP Dubs, I want to put it over to you. You love this book. Let's shine some light and love on the books and, yeah, positivity.
Yeah, I love them, but they're totally flawed books. I just put something in the Twitch chat, and I'm just going to read it.
Yeah.
When this was written, Zahn had already written something like 6 or 7 books about Thrawn that were no longer canon. And now they're like, hey, we want you to write these new canon books. And he's probably like, great, now I got to come up with another story. So maybe he had notes, or maybe he had some other backstory. But these are like his B stories. So they were probably never going to be as good. And let's face it, there was probably like, hey, here's a bunch of money, write a book for us. So he did.
Yeah.
That being said, for me, these are my popcorn books. I don't care that the characters are shallow. I don't care the plot is shallow. I just like Star Wars aliens, and I love the way that Timothy Zahn writes battles. I am basically watching like Return of the Jedi fighting over Endor with like 80 ships in frame in my head when I'm reading these scenes, and I just eat that up. It's
fun.
not for everybody, and I totally understand that it's not for everybody.
But I love that it's for you, and I love you shining the light and your perspective on these books, because the fact that they're your popcorn books, because my popcorn books look and feel exceptionally different, and I have been binging my popcorn books in between reading this trilogy. And as I spoke a lot about in the last show and in the after show, my popcorn books, Zodiac Academy, where it's got the academy setting that I love so much. They've got superpowers and they can manipulate elements. There's also the sliding scale of power. Some people are more powerful than others. Freaking love that, like the X-Men side of things. Oh, by the way, they can shift into animals. What kind of animals? Yeah, great. We got sirens, we got werewolves, dragons, phoenixes, Cerberus. So sick. And they fuck a lot. So that's what I need in my popcorn bucket, the fuck it bucket. And that's just, we need at least one smooch per book, says Jimmy. And there were no smooches in Thrawn. We didn't even get an air kiss, I don't think. Let them smooch, Zahn. Just because they're blue doesn't mean, don't finish the sentence, Maude. I'm on one. Doesn't mean their balls need to be. Okay, Occult Stool, I also agreed with you with Thrawn's voice during the communicator static. It was all that dialogue between Jixtus and Thrawn, but Thrawn was in another ship. So Jixtus's dialogue was incredibly loud and clear and slow. And Thrawn's voice had so much emulator and modulator and noise over it. And then the fact that he was talking really quietly. I couldn't hear a damn thing. I also saw feedback that from Jay Buntrock, who couldn't be here tonight, but wanted everyone to know that there was that moment in the book where Jixtus and Thrawn basically do a recap of books 1 and 2. And he thought that the book series should have started there. that kind of made those two books a little redundant, and we could have just hit the ground running with the good stuff. Brush Kid says Katie has some romance books with blue people in it. Katie, your husband's outing you big time. You're in the chat. Do tell. Do tell. Are they like minotaurs?
There's some good romance, monster, alien, blue guy books out there.
Yeah. I like Avatar.
Sure.
Or is it more than just like tales connecting?
Yep.
Yes, no wrong answers here. Well, actually, you know, when it comes to books that have been published, even still, most likely there are few wrong answers unless we're delving with extremes. People like what people like. Colleen, you really liked Thrawn Ascendency. You gave it a 5 out of 5, and you read the book instead of listening to it. Tell me what you loved about this book and how you connected with it.
Okay, I wasn't sold for the first one especially because I felt the same thing, that it was really redundant after having read it. And I still think that the original trilogy was superior to this. Mm-hmm. But in this one, I really kind of got into all the backstabbing and manipulations. I liked all the mental gymnastics people were doing. And yeah, I agree with Ken that it wasn't very believable in some places, but I kind of enjoyed that my mind could fill in some of the blanks. And the very end, I felt like that left a big sandbox for more Thrawn stories to kind of make the connection between this book and the Empire.
Okay, well, that's one of my book club questions is like, would you want to see the story continued? So that's quite interesting. I also think it's quite interesting that the third book hooked you so much more than the first two. Would you have read the third if you'd started series 1 on your own, Sans Book Club? Would you have progressed?
Probably just because I'd already invested in the trilogy, and I'm a completionist at heart. Even though I get seriously distracted, I've got a lot of series to go back to, but since I already had all 3 books, I would have finished it. I thought the first 2 books were okay, but I guess I just got really invested by the 3rd book.
Mm-hmm. Good on you. You were like, well, I'm here. We'll make it happen. Good stuff. I'm reading everyone's scores. Vaden 3.5 out of 5. Sprinkles, you gave it a 3 out of 5. Toaster Poster said, I got 5 hours in and I quit. Steph says, I'm 23% into book 3 and it feels like almost nothing has happened. So TBD on that one. Vanessa gave it a 2.5 out of 5, and so did Academic. So Vanessa, I'd love to hear from you, and then Academic, what made this a 2.5 out of 5 for you? Because I think that's what I'm going to make my score to.
Me first or Vanessa?
Vanessa's just unmuted, but I can't quite hear you, love. I'm not sure what's going on with the microphone. You figure that out. Academic, we're going to throw to you.
I think you said it earlier in the chat, but I'll repeat it here. It was flowing too much, especially maybe it's a listening thing or whatever, but like I would constantly start listening to it and then forget where I was, and I'd have to constantly go back. It's like the difference between having like a good flow, a nice turbulent flow where you can see how the water's moving and whatnot, or a laminar flow where the water doesn't look like it's moving, but it is moving and things are moving. And so like you have no clue where you are at the end of it. So yeah.
Also, last week we had a great conversation about, did Timothy Zahn's writing enable you to be able to visualize what's happening in the book? And we spent a big chunk of time talking about, can we visualize these characters? And some were like, yes, absolutely. Others, a majority of us were like, nope. And we even found some fan art to support, to be like, hey, this is what some people think the characters look like. It's like, that doesn't check out at all. I can't differentiate between the fan art either. Other people were saying, and KP Dubs, this was for you. Zahn was placing you in the room. You were behind the director of photography's camera, and you're catching all the action, and you can place everything. Academic, was it you that said you couldn't even see yourself inside the ship, like the?
No, I'm pretty good, like positioning myself in the world. I just didn't care. Like that was my problem.
Yeah.
I just didn't care to make the effort, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wasn't hooked by the story.
KP Dubs, describe us being in the Springbok. Is it Springhawk? Springbok.
Springhawk.
Springhawk.
Inside the Springhawk?
Yeah. Place us in there. Go. I'm shutting my eyes.
Sorry, no, I can't do that. Outside. I picture the outside.
Let's go.
See the
What we got?
Springhawk.
Yep.
When he's like, we did a 180 yaw turn to like starboard, I see that in my head, and I see the patrol craft.
Are they
like
gray?
Is the ship 1/10 the size? Yeah, most everything's gray, dark gray.
Yep.
And so
is
I
it
just
like
picture,
a Star Destroyer? I pictured Star Destroyers ish.
Kind of in my head, just as like a placeholder. Almost like the old Republic Venator, I think they are, class cruisers, pre-Star Destroyer. It's more like that, but yeah, it's more boxy than triangular. But again, I just see different size ships flying around it, and I'm picturing lasers, and I'm picturing little tiny missiles flying around, blobs of acid floating through the air.
When was there acid?
Oh, all the time.
Okay.
Whenever they fired a breacher missile is just a big lump of acid. And when it hits the hull, it eats in. Or if you shoot it, it opens up into space, and then the acid floats through space and dissipates. But if you're close enough, it can still do damage.
Got it.
That was like 90% of their weapons was the breacher
acid.
missile.
The Chiss weapons, not the other aliens' weapons.
Chiss had three main weapons. They had spheres, which were like ion cannons. They short circuit everything. So they would hit you with that to knock out your sensors and lasers.
Yep.
Then they'd hit you with the breacher missiles, which would eat away at your hull.
Yep.
And usually it would darken the metal to make it black, which made the metal more absorbent to light waves. And then they'd hit you with their spectrum lasers, and that would just heat up and melt and eat into the hull.
Laser beams. Got it.
Freaking laser beams in the freaking head, yeah.
Vaden says, I think the series took a long time to develop the relationships, but I thought it ended well. I usually enjoy the final book in a trilogy the most, and there were some good payoffs in the end. Tosapost said, whenever I started enjoying the book, the story would switch characters or go to a memory. I really tried to enjoy this trilogy. Vanessa says, I had a hard time because there was very little character growth. Thrawn is too perfect. It's boring. Academic was picturing a more rounded ship architecture than angled. I think I was angled. And Shiri was sitting in Picard's chair.
See, I had Shiri sitting in like a sunken, like isolated pod on the bridge.
Oh.
Like 11?
I don't know what that means, but sure.
From Stranger Things.
I didn't picture it as a pod, but like on Star Destroyers
it's like
and Star Wars.
Like she goes in and steps down. Yeah.
Yes, and Star Destroyers in Star Wars, like Vader's walking on a platform and all the officers are below him.
I didn't have it that big, but
right, no, not
like
that big. But
area.
Shri had, it was more like just off to the side of the helm. She would go sit in there.
Yep.
If you've got access to the Discord, you go, Colleen. Yes.
Well, they mentioned several times that it was like the same areas the navigators used, more or less, but that it was smaller. The reach was shorter. So they compared it to like all the rest of the dashboard, I guess you could say, the control panels had a longer reach, and then Chiri's area was shorter.
Yes,
So-
and Kalori figured that out because the space between that was shorter. It was like, oh my God, children. I had children for this. They weren't a different species at all. I did listen to that part. Yay. My favorite part about what Colleen said, she started by saying, you know, Maude, they actually mentioned this several times. Yep. Good. They sure did. I was going to say, if you've got access to the Discord, and guess what? All of you do. We'll pop some links in the chat as well. It's free. Sign up. You don't even have to sign up. You just click. You just click a link, and then you get introduced, and then everyone goes, hi. But there's different channels, and the public one, there is literally a Thrawn Ascendency chat that we've been using all month to talk about the book. There's also a show chat just for members that have access during these shows to talk about it. If you can find and hunt around for, like, let's do a little Thrawn Pinterest board, but if there's any designs or if there's any art or if there's like ships that look like what you've been picturing, chuck it in there. That could be a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you what happened in this book because some of us need a refresher. So Lesser Evil is the final book in the Thrawn Ascendency trilogy, bringing the political and military tensions within the Chiss Ascendency to a head. The mysterious enemy Jixtus, a Grisk agent, who sounds like this in the book, continues his plan to destabilize the Chiss from within, using manipulation, false flag operations, and political subterfuge. Thrawn and Admiral Aralani work to uncover and neutralize this threat, all while navigating the dangerous power struggles between the 9 ruling families of the Ascendancy. Thrawn once again demonstrates his unmatched strategic mind. I want him to be gay. I think I want his best friend, the brother. I think that's the... Sorry, happy Pride Month. Next couple of days. Thrawn once again demonstrates his unmatched strategic mind, devising elaborate traps and tactics to reveal Jixtus's influence and protect Chiss space. Meanwhile, tensions rise as internal factions see Thrawn's unorthodox methods as a threat to tradition and power. The book explores major themes like loyalty, sacrifice, the cost of power, and the limits of honor in a rigid society. In the end, Thrawn successfully defeats Jixtus, but his growing list of political enemies leads to his eventual, academic, exile. A fate that sets the stage for his appearance in the Thrawn 2017 trilogy and later Imperial service. So that's kind of what went down. Thrawn seems ace, says Occult Stool. Agree. He discovered the power of friendship within the memories, which is something that he hadn't really had before. I was disturbed by Thrawn as an adult male going into space with the young girl on his own, very uncomfortable with my background. Colleen, that's what I said last book. No, in the first book. I was like, this is what's really interesting about perspective. A lot of guys are reading this and they're like, this is totally makes sense. This is absolutely fine. And then I'm reading it. I'm like, ick, oof, do not like, feel wrong. So this is why perspectives are fantastic because, again, no one's wrong. Everyone's experiencing it differently. And it's just like, ooh, yeah, everyone's got different understandings and different backgrounds. Fan art of Thalius and Sherry in the show chat on Discord. Let's have a little look-see, shall we? Oh, it's in a file. Let me see if I can share it. Wait,
I don't know. I just posted it because it was more in line with what I pictured than the fan art that we had found earlier.
There it is.
And the one from last week, there was 4 females and 4 males, and you couldn't tell gender apart at all
Nope.
from any of them. This one, at least, they look female.
That's true. Is that... I'm sorry. Oh, that's... Who's what true?
Wootro is like the second in command with Aralani.
Oh, Wootro is a woman as well, right? Wootro is Aussie.
Well, it says Wootro is left. So like this is from left to right, so Wootro would be left.
Wootro,
like 80% of the senior officers are female.
Yep.
I like that. Wootro, the voice decision on that one is that she's like bogan Aussie, which is just like, oi, what do you think we should do in this situation? And I'm like, what? they not all like Chiss? Like, I guess. What's her house? Someone tell me what house Witchero belongs to, because she's great.
Well,
The Aussies.
they also come from different planets. There's apparently different planets in the Ascendency.
Yeah, I think theirs is down under. Yeah, on the map. So funny. Anyway, that's the beautiful art there. Thank you so much, Zombie Yurei. Just said just some mindless doodling. Very helpful for us. Okay, so let's go through some of these questions. Let's talk about the plot and the structure, huh? This is a trilogy. All the things come to a head. We kind of understand if we've been watching Thrawn in canon on screen where he ends up. Spoiler alert, it's fighting for the Galactic Empire. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. But this book, we don't see him being bad. We see him being good at his job. He is not ethically and morally bankrupt. He is a guy that gets the job done. So how did you feel, and was there any satisfaction with how the conflict with Jixtus and the Grisks was concluded? Because for me, it felt like as soon as Jixtus realized he was outmatched, he just pressed the kaboom button. Lisa just goes, oh, great headset, by the way. They look really good. You're going to have to teach me how to use them. So I've got them. This is them. This is they. I've got to figure out how to use it. They look fantastic. Thank you, Alienware. Aha, Alien. Where?
Yeah, so I feel I was definitely listening to the last part really fast. So like it seemed really fast, but I felt like a lot of stuff led up to it. So kind of he gave up fast, but maybe not. Might have just been at the speed I was going at.
And things are happening.
Mhm.
I think there was a pattern, though, with it sort of led up to it, because whenever the Grist got cornered, they'd self-destruct things.
Yeah.
And so Jixtus wasn't he also attacked by Kalori? And so he was his ship was already disabled. He wasn't going to go very far. And he certainly wasn't going to allow himself to be taken prisoner.
No.
And what you were saying about Thrawn being a villain later on, we get a little foreshadowing of that at the very end when they're saying, I would do anything that it takes. You know, I mean, he's all about expediency. He'd kill everyone and anyone for the greater good.
The greater good.
Greater good.
Baden, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just to expand on Colleen's point. Yeah, that's like the most common like principle or like ethical like justification for villains. Is there like I will do anything to accomplish mission. What it is, it's when you don't care about the process, when you will do literally anything, as they say, then you throw ethics and usually morals out the window. In this case, their morals are, I guess, are consistent with themselves, but ethically, yeah, there's like, well, I will kill everyone. And I will. He says he will use the Star Flash. He'll use any, these crazy like ultimate weapons, whatever, these super weapons, to accomplish his mission. And so all that matters is accomplish the mission. And in this case, his mission is to protect what he considers the just Ascendencies. And it almost matters. So yeah, pretty evil. It can be very evil. It's
From a
take it
certain
to
point of
extreme.
view.
Yeah, because you take it because it happens is usually people, at least in their justifications, seem fine initially, but then they take things to extremes, and those extremes lead them to evil outcomes or lead to evil like actions.
That's the thing. He can make morally bankrupt choices, but have been like and have accolades against his name for doing the hard thing for the greater good. In this instance, though, he was a scapegoat. Someone had to fall on their sword. There needed to be a level of accountability. And instead of everyone on his ship being held accountable, they focused it all on him. And so Thrawn had to, he was exiled in a bid to save everyone else who, I guess, was an accomplice into his decisions. But they're only an accomplice because he'd earned their loyalty enough for them to follow him to the ends of Earth.
Yeah, he had proved himself all this time, but I just kind of wish that like even his in an end where he's supposed to like punished for all the things he's done for the entire set of 3 books, a trilogy, it's still like the punishment is very minor. Like he still gets to do stuff like what he basically wants to do, and like in the most part, the only thing he sucks is that he misses out on seeing his friend Thras, his brother. But like other than that, he's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I don't really care that much. So it just doesn't feel like much of a punishment.
I know, he has a lot of detachment. He's got few attachments, and I think that's why it's easier for him to switch off and to see between the blanks. And that's why I like, this whole, we had arguments in the first book where he wasn't privy or wasn't good at the politics side of it, but he's very, very good at sort of like the schematic side of it all. Forgot where I was going because I hate to quote academic. I don't care. Were there any subplots left open or underdeveloped? Vader.
His sister, like Thrawn's sister, Orica. Like we're like, okay, we find out about her. We know that she used to be part of the same system, the Skywalkers, as Shiri and Thalius, and it's like okay, and then they kind of talk for a bit, and that's it.
Yeah. She's like, well, there's no point in meeting him because I can't remember him. Cool, done. Next.
Yeah, I felt that part felt pretty bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wish there was a lot more to that, but that was disappointing.
Colleen, you were nodding along. Are you agreeing with the Seeker program, or did you have another thing?
No, I wanted to know. It talked about Brass's ending, but it didn't say how he got into that situation. It said he was on a ship with a woman from the lesser galaxy, and the lesser, is that it? But the lesser planet? Anyway, and that he and the woman decided to sacrifice themselves to save all these refugees. But I didn't have a clue how they got into that situation to start with.
Can anyone get there? Does anyone know? Because I don't. There's no way I can answer that.
I don't think the book answers it.
Great, good.
No,
Thank God.
I think
Thrawn likes to have adventures off page, though.
I think in book 1, I would probably have to reread it to find out. There was some mention of Brass dying, I don't know, heroically or something, or Thrawn was shamed because of Brass dying in some weird way. Maybe like they thought he just died for no reason, but now we seen the other side, and he is like giving his life to save all these aliens and stuff like that. But it's a heroic act that's completely unacknowledged, unknown. He just did it for the sake of doing it, not for the accolades.
Okay.
Which is one of the probably by far the deepest thing any of the characters in any of the books did.
And yet it was not handled with care, so to speak. Okay. An issue that we were talking about last week with the second book is book 1, we liked the flashbacks as providing exposition. The memories were well done. Book 2, the memories bogged down the flow and weren't as interesting or exciting and kind of hurt the book more than it helped. Got another burp in there. Nice. This time the flashback chapters continue. Did they enhance your understanding of Thrawn and the Chiss culture, or did they interrupt the pacing? I feel like we've got a little bit of both here. I haven't liked memories for 2 books now. Quick yay or nay. We liked them, didn't like them.
I like the idea of them. I just wish they were.
Yeah, I thought they were interesting. Sometimes it's the jumping back and forth in time can always be somewhat problematic.
What were you saying, Baden? Sorry.
Oh, I like the memories in general. I just wish I think the pacing was an issue with placement of them, but otherwise I like them. Like the learning about the stuff you got from them.
Phantom Aria says, I liked the memories specifically because it had Thras stuff in it. What were you saying, Lisa?
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the memories in this book. I liked hearing more about Thras. I thought that was really interesting, his relationship with him and getting that backstory. But it did just kind of bogs down the story. Like some books can do it really well when they have the back and forth like that, and this one kind of didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's cool to learn it. It's just there's never a good time and place to do so. Yeah.
It seems like the memories were sort of used to introduce Thras as a character. I don't remember him in either of the past two books, right?
Neither.
Right, yeah. So that
He was just a mention. He was the guy who goes to the academy to recruit Thrawn, but it's like 10 pages at most.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the book, so you immediately forget about him as a character. So yeah, we meet him that one time, and then this is like, oh, remember this guy from 2 books ago at the very beginning of the book?
No.
Learn more about him.
Sure.
And like, so yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, that I'm agreeing exactly with what you're saying. If it was like crucial to the story, I just feel like it was a completely separate everything. Like, what did we learn about Thrawn because of Thras? It's like they got along well. Thrawn was able to let his guard down. Thrawn had a friend for the first time. And so?
Right. Whereas like other books that do it well, sorry, Tim, like Stormlight, like I feel like we get meaningful information out of those like memories, right?
Yes, we learned
really
about Shallan.
useful.
Shallan. You know, why she's been suppressing memories and how she's evolved completely from being almost mute to being this sassy wonder. You have more of a journey, but discovering the past provides information for the current and the future. We're going to get back into the Stormlight archives, by the way. Just so everyone knows, we're definitely going to be doing Oathbringer by the end of the year. Just so everyone knows, get psyched up for that one. The final confrontation with Jixtus involves an elaborate strategy. Did the military tactics feel believable and thrilling? And how did they compare to Thrawn's tactical brilliance in the other Star Wars novels or media? For me to expand on this, it's really hard to continue. Like Pierce does this all the time with his Everlasting Red Rising. When you deal with opposition strategy, the writer has to one-up it. What is the thing that I'm going to bring to the table this time that I haven't already done? How am I making it fresh, exciting, and how am I raising my own bar that I'm setting? So I guess with that, and KP Dubs and Colleen, I almost want to go to you two because you remember the expanded universe, you remember the other trilogies. This is his most recent trilogy. Has he still got it?
I would say yes. In those old trilogies, one of the things that he liked to do was give you half the plan from about 5 different points of view, but he never gave you the whole thing until the end. And so everything was a surprise, even to you. He still wrote the same kind of way that I remember from 30 years ago. So yeah, he still got it.
What was
whether you like it or not? That's up to you. But
yeah, what was your favorite part? Whether it was like the finale or any of the military tactics, which one would you be like, "Ooh, that's good stuff"?
Well, I liked in the final battle where he's using the gravity well generator because that is a callback to things he does in those books from the 90s.
Got it.
Thrawn uses that same kind of a tactic. He parks a gravity well in and then calls his ships in to like basically get pulled out of hyperspace right on top of an enemy in perfect flanking position and blast the hell out of them. So he did that here.
Jimmy's giving me heat. I was telling everyone in the show before, I guess. I've been trying to email with all of the authors that we cover for Maude's book club, and I thought I had Timothy Zahn's email, and I wrote a beautiful email, and it bounced. And Jimmy just said, "This is why the Zahn email bounced back." Shush. Who else had a really, like, out of all the 3 books, but specifically this book, which was your favorite moment with the military strategies and tactics? Which one was the best? Thierry just is saying 3. Book 3 had the best ones.
Oh, in this trilogy, yes. I think the original trilogy were still the best that way, but I could kind of see how he had honed from what he was doing here. There were a few things that seemed really unbelievable. I mean, you know, when he figured out the flight pattern for all of these different ships.
Yeah, because it just made sense, Colleen.
Yeah, he can jump so far ahead in his mind. But I was also kind of fascinated by the way they had introduced the Star Flash, and then kind of led you to believe that the alien device they had was the Star Flash. And so I was kind of waiting for this self-destruct moment where we had all these like Afros willing to sacrifice themselves. And then we find out it was just the gravity well device.
He pulled the old switcheroo, says KP Dubs. Lisa says, I will say the battle scenes were excited and some of my favorite parts. KP Dubs says the pre-programmed shuttle flight pattern was nuts. And Occult Stool said, I like the combining of using tractor beams on asteroids to manipulate terrain. That's always fun as well. This is the thing. It's like, what have you got to play with? Like, what?
That's another, sorry.
What?
I was going to say the asteroid thing is another throwback to the OG Legends trilogy.
Oh, really? See, I don't know any of this. That's fun.
Yeah, they cloak a bunch of asteroids and surround a planet so that the planet can't take its shields down, because if they do, an asteroid might hit the planet. But that means also nobody can leave or come in, so they start running out of supplies.
They basically blockade a planet
asteroids.
without actually needing to have ships in the area.
They're basically trying to starve out Coruscant.
Yep.
That's so cool. How long do you think Coruscant could last under asteroid siege?
Like 1 trillion people eat a lot of food fast.
Yeah, but like, I think they've got stores. I think 4 years. That's my answer.
But aren't they're not self-sufficient? It's like,
yeah, I would be surprised if they're not.
They would rely on trade. Yeah,
the entire planet is a city. There's no grazing. There's no animals. There's no food.
Who says the
supplies.
entire planet isn't like one big fridge as well?
Yeah, like, or there's some sort of bio labs.
Yeah. They could, yeah.
You've got all those lower levels in Coruscant where all of these poor people are too. So you've got this big discrepancy in classes. And I think, and they'll be the first to feel the blockade.
Also, if you have death sticks, you don't need to eat for a week. You know, don't quote me on that, but... Oh dear. Okay, Rito. Okay. Next question. Let's look at the characters, because Vanessa was saying that there wasn't enough character growth, and so it's harder to connect. Oh my God, Occult Still, you're on a plane. You did say this actually. I'm surprised you made it today. Have fun. Fly safe. No battle tactics. Okay. Thrawn's morality and loyalty are constantly questioned. Do you believe Thrawn is loyal to the Ascendency or only to a specific set of ideals?
I feel that Thrawn is loyal to his ambition.
Yes, well said, Jimmy. Well said. I think he is loyal to the Ascendency in ways where it's like, because he has to be. Not because he wants to be, but because that's protocol and that's what should happen. But you're exactly right. He's prioritizing his ambition. That's where his loyalty lies. Academic, flailing arms.
What is Thrawn's ambition? Like, the only things that seem to move him are like when other alien species are in trouble and he's like, hey, we should go help them. Like, he codes good guy throughout this entire series. Is like bereft and downtrodden aliens, and we've got like his friends that he's trying to like make. But other than that, I don't know. Like, he doesn't seem like he has any self-serving ambition. So like, what?
We did kind of speak about that. What's his drive? Why does he get up in the morning? When there is a puzzle, he wants to solve it. That's it. And it's like, will it further cause? It's like, well, if it helps people, fantastic. He could use that and manipulate it maybe later on. Hey, I did you a solid. Now you can scratch my back. But essentially, it is like, hey, I have been presented with a problem, and I just want to figure out if I can solve it. And there is a level of ambition at always being right or having the answer. Colleen, you look like you've got things to say.
Well, kind of what Academic was saying about the alien. And yeah, a lot of it was, okay, I want to figure this out. Like with the Magus, he wanted to know more about their people. He tracked down the Nick mine and determined. But it was also interesting because he was one of just about the only Chiss that looked at these aliens and saw them as something more sentient. I mean, because you have this whole conversation about, no, if there's presentient aliens, we deserve them. He should bring them all back to us. So he saw everyone as potential allies or enemies, whereas the rest of the Chiss seems to see other aliens as animals or objects.
Assets even, yeah. I think Thrawn always kind of has big picture at play. And the thing that they kind of followed through in this book was the fact that in the second book, Skywalker, was that the first book? Was that the first book where fucking Anakin pops up? And
yes,
obviously Thrawn has sort of understood this notion of the Force, and he's recognizing that the Mages having access to the Beyond and the Skywalkers with the Chiss girls are having access to, what are they calling it? They've called it something else.
Third
sight.
Third sight. And then Anakin talking about the use of the Force. That to him is a puzzle. And that's why he wants to know about it. Because if he's connecting the Beyond with Third Sight, with the Force, this is something that's so much bigger than the Chiss and any sort of ascendancy. So I think he's trying to find solutions and to get to the bottom of what all of that is. And I wish it was explored more, but I wish he felt a little bit more inept or at a disadvantage because he wasn't attuned to that. And that almost felt like a little bit of a threat to him. That 10-year-old girls and Kalori who has winglets and this random guy who's got a boner for Padme out in space. Sorry, I've got to be better about that. But it's something that he doesn't possess. But he's seeing the connection between all of them. So it's more information that he's trying to get. Academic, you did at me.
This is actually not at you because I think you're noticing a lot of things. I just think there are a lot of contradictions directly in the story. Like one, Thrawn and Arlani had this conversation in book 2 where they're like, where Thrawn's like, you actually see these people as people. Like, so like Thrawn is recognizes that Arlani sees other alien species as people, and he recognizes that as something that's weird, and that he says explicitly, I don't really see them, right? Like, so that's in line with what you were saying. But at the same time, like he and like everybody else on the Springhawk are like upset that the Magus' traveling companion decides to off themselves
Yeah.
because of the Magus' command, right? And they're
culture.
scrambling to try and figure out, like, hey, we've got to figure out whether or not we'll give them their agency to like do whatever they want to do after we like confirm this, but we're going to do our level best to figure out whether or not the world there are still survivors on that world. So these seem to be like really conflicting motivations and behaviors. Like the story's telling us one thing, and the characters are acting differently in this framing that the story is giving us, and there's no resolution of that conflict. Like, hey,
Right.
actually, we do actually care about this thing. No, it doesn't seem like any of that is explicitly stated.
Got it. So they're consistently contradicting without conclusion.
Yeah.
Got it. KP Dubs. Oh, you're muted.
Muted.
Aiden had his hand up first.
Vaden, hand up first.
Sure. Yeah, I guess what I was going to say is, I guess it's what to your previous point about Thrawn. Like, are we sure he's not force sensitive at all? Because like, if his sister is, and like he seems to have this like preternatural sense of like of various things, and be able to see things that no one else can possibly see. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, I have a thought on this.
Guessing.
I have a thought on this. I don't think it is. I wish there was more conversation, and I spoke about this when we were tackling the first book, where it's like he's so based in logic. So Thrawn, I wish, was presented as more of a character kind of on the spectrum, where he's sort of inept at, let's say, social understanding. He's not really good at connecting on a social or a personal level, but his logic side of his brain and maths, engineering, all of those things, he's genius level at. And I've just described to you pretty much all the men in my family. They are incredibly brilliant. They understand numbers and maths in a way that I will never get. But they also do not want to hug ever, ever. So Mum and I, we're the only ones that hug in the family because we feel. And that's what I believe the difference between Thrawn and the Force is. The Force is intuition. The Force is feeling. It's a sensory sort of thing. So even like what we learn in Star Wars, the way to connect with the Force is to not look, it's to feel, it's to sense. So that's the right side of the brain. And I wonder if, and I would have loved more exploration of this, women are more inherently right side, because that's your intuition, that's feeling, that's understand, like that's more of like the nurture side of things, whereas men, being inherently like the protector, it's the more of the logic side of the brain. And when you look at what's happening in Star Wars, yes, there's, I think, just as many women Jedi as men. There's like, no, it's not just men that are Jedi. But when you look at Skywalkers, they all girls. So it's a female attribute, right? I wish that Thrawn, using sort of like the left and right sides of the brain, where he's not able to, this is how I describe my brother as well. He's on the spectrum. When you distribute stat points, it's not an even run. You stack up so high in some, and it's at the cost of others. So my brother never developed an English sort of spelling, vocabulary, understanding past an 8th grader. But when he was in the 10th grade, he was doing second university maths. And so it's like when the points were distributed, his maths were like maths numbers, all that kind of stuff was stacked, like maxed out, but it was at the cost of not understanding sort of English as well. Whereas I think mine are a little bit more evenly distributed, which means I'm not great or genius at anything, but I understand a bit of everything. And that's why I think anyone on the spectrum, it's a superpower. And I will never be able to compete with someone who's had their point distribution so high in areas that like I can't get. So I want Thrawn to be like, he has like preternatural abilities of observing, engineering, military strategy, struggles with personal relationships, can't really connect with people on an emotional level, can't see other alien races as people, like that level of compassion doesn't exist because his stats are imbalanced in a way. Does that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I just thought maybe like because like I said, almost everything he does is logical, but the stuff about him understanding cultures through they mentioned about the painting, like they actually show an example in the book. Like I feel like that is much more intuitive. Like it's not really
is.
it's not really logic based.
And
So
that's a
that one
contradiction.
that's why I feel like that's got to be something
Yeah.
force based, but I wasn't sure. That was just my.
I think it would have been more smart for Timothy Zahn to have had Thrawn look at battle formations, materials used in ships, how ships are designed, sort of like species evolution, Darwinism. I think that would have made a little bit more sense for Thrawn, because culture is more of like an understanding of a people. Colleen.
The thing is, my disagreement with that is he's not looking at art in an emotional way. He's not feeling any, getting any of the depth or abstract feeling from the art. He's looking at it as patterns.
Right.
And then
he's using logic, not creative. Yeah.
Right.
He's not going, those yellows complement each other.
I mean, he does kind of, though, because he did mention, like, he said, well, he's painting, he's like, oh, this person's went through a tragedy of some kind, probably. And, like, you can't logic that. Like, I feel like that has to be.
That's psychology, which is emotion, intuition, understanding, but it still falls in line with science in a way.
I guess, yeah, it depends how you interpret it.
Yeah. KP Dubs?
So going back to like how he sometimes contradicts himself, or the way that Zahn presents it that way, I don't think it does, because I think what Thrawn's ultimate actual power is being outside the box. He can take any tool and they'll be like, this is a screwdriver. And he's like, but I could use it as a wedge or a hammer or a pointer. But in his mind, that even applies to people. Okay, these species, I can use them to manipulate things this way. I can use them because they have this technology, because they have these resources. And so again, there's no emotion to it. It's not necessarily that he wants to save a people. He just doesn't want to throw he doesn't want to throw a tool away. You got a toolbox, you want to get more. Anybody who's got tools knows you have 10 of too many things.
And everything has a purpose. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and so I think that's his thing. He's collecting tools, information, people, because again, they're all assets to him, and that's how he thinks. And then around the art stuff, again, he doesn't look at it with emotion. He doesn't see a sunrise or starry sky. He sees, why did they use a brush with this many bristles? Why did they use a paint with this chemical composition? It's almost more the technical side of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That he is seeing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's how it's made, not why it's made. I like that. Berkey's here. Berkey, in your honor of our first discussion of the first book a couple of weeks ago, gave Drizzt another big shout out when it comes to warring houses. Done well. But lovely to have you here. Says Thrawn's ultimate power is plot. Also, 12 minutes ago, sorry that I missed that one, but Waikamua, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Next question. Thales takes on a major role in protecting Cheery and serving Thrawn. How has her arc developed over the trilogy? Are you still disappointed that she could have been a spy, but it was never explored? Underwhelming. Anyone? She should have been a spy. She would have had so much more agency. It could have been like another Mara Jade betrayal. She was sent there to do one thing, but she was swayed by loyalty and adoration, and she changed her mind. That would have been freaking cool. Anyway.
I'll be honest, I never thought she was a spy.
But how cool would it have been if she was?
Yeah.
She's the very first Skywalker that's become a carer. Why is that important?
I mean, aside from the obvious, and she's the only one that would understand what it's like to be one.
Because there
because
was a
we find
program where they delete memories, and if you have two people, you can converse and share information and stories. So they have to separate them so that they wouldn't talk, because they would have been able to fill in the literal blanks. But it would have been cool if she was initially placed there as a spy, but then found out, because it did breach that there was a greater mystery and she was still a pawn and she wanted to fight for her people.
Well, that was what Cersei had wanted her to be. He wanted her to be a spy.
I know. I wish that was more of the plot. I wish that was actually what was happening, instead of Thurfian being like, well, that would be a nice thing to happen. I'm like, don't say shit like that if it's not going to exist. Don't make up something somewhat enticing. Don't try to attempt to have an interesting storyline. And then not even entertain it. What does Thalius's relationship with Thrawn say about his view of mentorship and trust? Toaster Poster wrote in the comments ages ago, which I think is actually so apt, which is, has Thrawn ever looked at a piece of art and thought, ew? No, he would find information from everything. Nothing's a waste of time because he finds things in everything. But that's really funny. Thrawn, ew, I do not much like this art. And Vaden says, yeah, that'd be great. From looking at this piece of ancient art, I can infer that the author sucks at life and is an insecure fool. That's an interesting story. I'd like to read that. KPW says, Thrawn likes to keep his tools sharp, so he compliments good work and encourages growth. Is this an important trait as a leader? Does this build loyalty? One of the smartest things that you can do is show someone their potential, because you see what someone has the tools to achieve. And that's the nudge. Sometimes people can't see their own potential. So if you're like, hey, this was really cool. I love how your brain works in these particular ways, and this is where you'll thrive. You go, oh my God, I have purpose. I have skills. I think that's always such a beautiful thing, where someone really, really sees you, whether it's the work you're putting into something, the contributions that's being made, how your brain works. It's lovely that when it's recognized. Colleen says he knows the names of everyone he works with. I bet every single person here has a story about someone that's made such a positive impression because maybe you said your name and they kept using it forevermore. Or maybe you hadn't seen them in a while and they were like, oh my goodness, Maude, your nephews must be 5 and 7 now. You're just like, how? KP Dubs, you got a story?
It's one of those things where, like, I don't know if these books suffer from like the assumption that people know Thrawn from the other 8 books that were already out. In the original books, there's a scene where they're trying to tractor beam Luke Skywalker and he gets away. And Thrawn asks the tractor beam operator, what'd you do? And he's like, well, I did this, this, and this, which is textbook.
Yeah.
And Thrawn has him executed because he failed. Then they come across another situation.
That's exciting.
And they try to tractor beam somebody. And the guy gets away, and so he goes to the tractor beam officer, and he's like, what'd you do? And he's like, well, I did this and this, but I saw he was doing this, so I tried this. And Thrawn's like, that's not in the manual. Why'd you try that? And he's like, well, because it wasn't working, and I had a hunch this would work, and I failed. And he's ready to die, and Thrawn's like, at least you tried. You're promoted 2 ranks. You're now the head of tractor beams. You're in charge.
Because you had intuition, and you're able to adjust on the fly.
So, like, so if you're like an idiot who can't do anything, he's going to weed you out. But if you can show critical thinking, he's going to like promote you. And again, these books if you've read those other books, I think like it helps these books because when he does a few little things, you're remembering all the other times he did that and you know it actually means more. But if these are the only books you've read, you're like, oh, that was just a little minor thing. He's like,
it was a blip.
Hey, go down to auxiliary control and take over the weapons console. And he does that for the guy. And that was actually a big deal, but not in this book way
it's not landing. Yeah, interesting. You're right. I think, would you have rather have been told for the 3rd time for the sake of like newer people learning it for the first time, do you think the assumption that we've all read every other Thrawn is hurting the books? Yes. Okay. Does anyone have a story about someone who made an impression or an impact because they remembered a small piece of information? I've had the opposite. I've met someone 5 times apparently, and they finally had to say to me, Maude, we have met 5 times. We met here, we met this place, we met here, and I've just gone, was I drunk? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And the only thing I walked away thinking was, make more of an impression. No, I'm kidding. But that was a horrible experience. But I've also been on the other side where I'd met someone 4 or 5 times and they went, hi. And I was just like, I met you here. I met you here. And they actually felt terrible. And my intention was to never make them feel terrible. It's not to be like, how do you not remember who I am? I was just like, oh my God, I've done this as well. It's so nice that like you can, I've received both sides of this now. I've got a fun story for you. It was someone who had worked in the industry, who had worked with Jeff Goldblum. And this was apparently like whenever The Fly was, like we're talking, what was that, in the 80s? And I think it was like a camera operator. 15 years goes by and Jeff Goldblum says to him, and I'm obviously changing all the names for the sake of the story because I can't remember it at all, but he was like, hello there, Richard Smith. How are your kids, Zach and Tim, going? They must be 15 and, finishing college now. And this guy's like, I have dead set not seen Jeff Goldblum in 15 years. He's remembered my first and last name, my wife's name, and my 2 kids' names. And apparently Jeff Goldblum has a brain like a storage system. And when he meets someone, he'll ask like 3 questions to get that information, and he can file it away like in a storage system. So when he meets someone, he can be like, right, right. I've got all the information and it's available to me. And that's one of the reasons why apparently Jeff Goldblum is such a delight to work with, because he is someone who will go around and know and remember everyone's names, and not just names, but like something else about them. This is a man who not only listens, but retains. And I remember Mum saying to me, one of the most important bits of information when I started in the television industry, she's like, just because you are standing in front of the camera does not make you special. It's not your show. You are one person with one job, and everyone else, look around, because the crew that's there, they all have an important job as well. You are no more special or worse than anyone else there. So when you get on set, you meet everyone and you learn everyone's name, because you want that lighting guy to like you so he likes you well. You want the camera guy to not, to tell you if you've got a booger up your nose. You want, you're a part of a team, and you need to build that team environment. And I remember just thinking that no one's mum had that fucking conversation in LA, because it is the worst place here where talent think that they are incredibly special. And a lot of the reason why Aussies do so well over here is because when we were on set, we were picking up things and carrying it with everyone else because we've got 2 perfectly good hands. There was no princess or special treatment or betterism. It's just not how it operates. And I still can't remember people's names. The worst one, a colleague, I couldn't remember his fiance's name, and I was 97% sure that it was Michelle. 97% sure. And I liked those odds.
So what was the 3%?
You were wrong, right? Weren't you?
Michelle,
so good to see you. It's Melissa. Fuck!
That's not bad. It wasn't something like
97% of it right.
The confidence in which I am 97. Michelle.
Mel.
Melissa. Yeah. Does anyone have a story? Has someone made an impression on you, and what was it? Go, Jimmy.
I have the opposite.
I would assume that Ken and I share this story because we're both in the customer service realm. As you may or may not know, a little kindness goes a long way. So usually at my job, we do this thing that's called the hello test. And so if no one says hello, you just act normally. But when the people pass the hello test and then they start asking about you, and then you remember what they're saying, and then you become friends with them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I'm going to go see your comedy. And then it's like, oh, like this. So it's like mutually beneficial for both people, because not only is the customer going to come back, but you've also made a new friend.
Yeah.
So it's like win-win.
There's camaraderie. You're making an impact on someone's life. You, dare I say it, care. You're asking with the intention of wanting to learn the answer. Again, LA has not grasped that at all. Oh my God, I have met people at influencer events that have literally asked me, what do I do? They're like, so what do you do? I said, I actually say my name first. We should probably start there. Is that maybe question number one, do we think? What my fucking name is before you can figure out if you can get anything from me or not. That's the biggest deal breaker for me. If you're not leading with what's your name. Although in Australia, I have known people for years and not known what their first name is because we call them by their last name. I dated a guy for about 7 months before I knew his name was Mark. Mark.
What do you call him?
His last name. Everyone called him his last name exclusively. Exclusively. And I was just like, someone called him that. And I was like, who the fuck is Mark? So that's me. I'm like, you don't look like a Mark. I was like, oh, never again. But I've
learned
also
his first name and promptly broke up with him.
I was like, no, he was great. But I was just like, it just felt wrong. Like the first name, I was like, oh, that's not right. But I will say I've also had friends where like 6-7 months into the friendship, I've gone, hey, what is it that you actually do? I know everything else about you. I've not once asked about what it is that you do because I hate having that conversation. So I don't ask as much, but I kind of get behind on it. Vaden, you get your hand up.
I just, on that subject is like, there's a couple of people I've talked to where it was good to talk to them basically and just say their names correctly. I feel like they appreciate that, like, because they get the names wrong a lot. Like one guy's name was like Sandeep, but they come and call him Sandeep because that's how it's spelled.
Yes,
and
I know Sandeep, and I learnt that from Adam Vision, who says it correctly, and I needed that. But I also am the person where I'm like, oh, I'll say everything funky with this accent.
Sure. Yeah, I
just spent 5 minutes saying Mark. Find the R. Where is it?
I would say that person was someone we all know. I love Maude.
Something's very, very sweet. Maude. It's not my name. What's your complaint, Tim? You said you'd have the opposite.
No, I said I tend to have the opposite, where instead of people leaving an impression on me because they remember me for some reason, I end up leaving that impression on others because I'll remember some obscure detail about an event or something where we met that they'll be like, yeah, that did happen. I didn't, like, they forgot about it, but I picture it. It's stuck in my brain vividly because my brain is stupid. And it just remembers dumb, random little things that happen.
Isn't it amazing how, like, there's about 5 years, I couldn't tell you anything that happens in that time, but then I could very similarly give specific details on, like, the most random thing. Where I'd be like, yeah, you're wearing the blue shirt that had the print on the shoulder. And they're like, what? What is this shirt? I'm like, I've got no idea why I know that. And yet, friends from high school were like, do you remember when Jen's mum had cancer? And I was like, she did? I got nothing. When was that? My goodness. Gone. 18.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Like months later, and I'm like, no, we went to the coffee shop and you had this drink. And they're like, how do you remember that? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know, because my brain is dumb and I just remember.
It will catalog splices, random splices.
But I do it all the time.
What, at the cost of what? What are you not remembering? What space did it take up instead? Because I have a feeling we only have finite amount of storage room. And so when you make a new memory, it's at the cost of another one. That's what, and I've moved significantly 2 big times. So Brisbane, where I grew up, I cannot remember how to get anywhere. Street names, suburb names, nothing. Because then I moved to Sydney when I was 19 and I was there for 7 years. And now I'm in LA. And every time I learnt more about LA, I would start forgetting about Sydney. But I'd already forgotten about Brisbane because Sydney was taking up that real estate in my brain.
I talked to somebody who lives in Brisbane the other day. He was in my stream. Anyways,
I bet he's very bored there.
Completely unimportant thing, but sticks in my brain. The thing that gets erased because I remember all the dumb details is time has no meaning to me. Like, time and dates have no meaning to me at all.
I'm expert level of those. I'll do it all the time. A song will play. I'm like, that came out in 1997.
Oh no, I can do that.
Movies,
but like, if you were to ask me, like, hey, when is such and such a thing due? I'll be like, fuck, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Or you'll be like, hey, when did we do this? Was it in August or June? I'll be like, I don't know. Time like that has no meaning to me at all.
I have other friends that really struggle where it's like, when did this happen? Like, give me the time. I see in timelines. I'm like, give me the timeline. Like, when was this? And I can pinpoint big events, but like not even that, like when music festivals were happening, when anything I had to do for work as well, especially, but like those movie premieres and when I would cover the junket, even if it's a movie that everyone forgot about, I could tell you, I remember the year that I covered it and when it came out. Like, I can catalog those sorts of things. People's names? Oh, why couldn't I have been gifted like Jeff Goldblum? I would just like scatter fairy dust just from existing because I'd be like, oh my gosh, Samantha, how's your boyfriend Nick going? And she'd be like, oh my God, I can't even remember your name. And I'm like, that's fine. It's my gift that I'm passing on. And you'll like me forever now because of that. Whereas
a perfect example of my just lack of awareness of time is I've been a member of this book club for how long now? And even today, when I got home from work, I was like, what time is book club start? No idea.
3 years. One of your first books was Project Hail
so
Mary.
Yeah, that was my first book. But so I've been coming and I'm here every time, whether I read the book or not, and I still have to check what time it
All right.
starts.
Well, now we have to go around. What was everyone's first book for book club? Vanessa, I'm starting with you. What was your first Maude's book club book? I've put her on the spot and she's like, oh no. It was in the last 9 months. Which one?
Divine Rivals, I think.
That's 1.5 years ago. That was February last year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next. What's everyone else? That's great. Lisa, can you remember your first book? And we're going back into Nerdist for you.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm trying to go back through our list of books to see.
It was 2017 for you.
Lisa has a diary of all the books she's read, so...
I joined Nerdist during the Alpha Book Club era. So it was
I
one
think
of
it's
those,
2017.
but I can't remember what book it was though.
Vaden, first book?
First book was Mistborn. That was the very first book I read.
That was March 2022. It was in Geek Bomb days.
Holy crap. I think you're right. So that's amazing.
There's no way. March 2022?
No, it was before, because Vaden was here before me.
2021?
May 2021? Yeah, May 2021, because it's been about
2021.
4 years at this point. Yeah, 4 years of book club, I think.
Steph, do you remember your first book? Yeah, you're frantically going through it, aren't you? You're like, what was the list? Terry, do you remember your first book for Alpha?
I think it might have been Interview with a Vampire.
That was 2018. That was a later book. Yeah, Lise, what do you got?
Okay, so I'm looking at the Alpha Book Club list, and I think the first one was probably Ready Player One.
That was my pick, 2016.
That was the one.
Read for me.
And we ripped it apart. It was 2016 for that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was...
No, 2017. Because 2016, we
yeah.
started October 2016. So that was 2017.
Yeah, I mean, so the other ones, I watched them, but I didn't read along with you guys. The first book I think I actually read along with you was Ready Player One.
There you go. Colleen, do you remember your first book?
No idea. I remember it was with Nerdist Book Club.
Yep, I remember
But
Clever Girl. I remember talking about it. And then we ended up doing Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I'm with Tim about not having any sense of time, but in a different way. I can't remember if something happened like, 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago. It's like all the
Pushed
same
together.
for me.
I feel like the older you get, your timeline is almost like an accordion. It kind of just squishes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Phantom Aria said
I have a
Hobbit.
story
That was Nerdist 2022. 2020. No, Hobbit. Was Hobbit when I was here? June was 2020. 2019. 2019 was June. 2020 was June. Fuck. Okay, I'm getting a bit patchy. Academic first book.
Hobbit was 2020.
Hobbit was 2020.
And Dune.
Okay. Academic, was yours Red Rising?
No, I vividly remember I was on vacation when I saw you guys reviewing Golden Sun, and I was in the hotel. I was like, "Oh, this looks so fun! I'd love to join this." And so I joined for Morning Star. It was my first book club.
Oh, okay. Jimmy, yours was Alpha.
Yeah, I can't say that I remember all the way back, but maybe I know we read The Witcher, which we didn't like.
Yeah.
Then there was the Dresden Files.
Yep.
Then we read The Hobbit. Then we read the so many things that Hector recommended.
Yep. Conan.
There's a lot.
What was the bloody Jack Reacher? No. What's the other?
Yeah.
No.
It was From Mars, something. He was like
John Carter.
Mars.
John Carter.
John
yeah.
Carter. Made us watch it.
Yeah.
Katie, first book?
3D.
Yeah. Is there a list somewhere, says Darren. Is this for Alpha, Nerdist, or Maud's Book Club, or Geek One Book Club? Seb?
I'll post them.
Sweet.
My first book was ACOTAR, but Brush Kid and I have been watching for a while.
Yes.
But the first book we read along was ACOTAR.
Sick. Yeah, Brush Kid was a gaming staple for the gaming streams, which I need to do more of. I'm going to be doing more gaming stuff, everyone. If you're in the chat, you can do !follow age, and it will tell you how long you've been following along here. There we go. Maudesbookclub.com.
Follow age and not followage.
I know. Followage. I feel
I'm
sorry.
just laughing because I remember all the details surrounding reading Project Hail Mary, but I could not tell you when we read Project Hail Mary.
January, wasn't it? January.
Can't remember my.
You're asking me? I don't know.
3.
All I know is I joined halfway through. I finished Jurassic Park on my own, then read Project Hail Mary in 3 days.
May 2022?
I don't think it was May. I think it was a winter month, but I couldn't tell you for sure. I want to say it was like February, maybe.
I think you're right. I don't remember my first book. It was either book 4 of Dresden Files or book 3 of Mistborn, because I remember when I decided that after a year of lurking, I was going to participate. I had to catch up to a series. In 5 weeks, I read a bunch of stuff to be ready.
That's fun. And that's what I'm trying to avoid as well when we pick books, where it's like, hey, we're doing Dungeon Crawler Carl book 7. So if anyone wants to read it, you've got to get started pretty quickly.
That works for me. I have that addictive personality where I get sucked into stuff hardcore for 6 weeks. So I just read all the books. And
Stardew Valley.
And Poosh and all that stuff, yeah.
I think the Moore's Book Club books are all on the Goodreads group page, which Lisa is still actively updating for NBC. I appreciate you. I saw the last one was 6 days ago. I checked it today. More on Thrawn. We've got some questions still, even though it's lovely going down memory lane with everyone. I don't really care about Jixter, so I thought the whole thing was really underwhelming. The Chiss political system is defined. You know what? We can veto. We've got 25 minutes. If we don't like a question, we'll just. Is there like an sound effect in the Discord? I know there's a round of applause. Let's gamify this.
There you go. No.
The booze. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this next question, this I feel like it's a Jeopardy board. We're going to do culture, politics, and theme for 100. The Chiss political system is defined by the power struggle between the ruling families. How does Timothy Zahn use this to comment on real-world politics or institutions? Did the political intrigue feel nuanced or overwhelmed? I actually want to chat about this. Are there parallels with what is happening in the Chiss Ascendancy? What's going on with refugees, maybe? What's happening in the book that is reflective of what's going on here? Or did it feel like it was fictional enough and taking place in a galaxy far, far away that it didn't bridge it and it wasn't boop boop on the nose? KP Dove says there was definite classism between families and within families with the different ranks. There you go. Great. Yes. Get out.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I sure can.
I'm having trouble right now zoning it in and out.
Oh, bless it. I'll put on voices and it might help, like listening to the book. The Chiss political system is defined by the power struggles between the ruling families. How does Timothy Zahn use this to comment on real-world politics or institutions? So basically, can you correlate between things that are happening in the book, whether it's the power struggles between the families or whether it's what's happening with politics, and apply it to today or things that we've seen in real world?
Well, some of the bickering between the families and the different rivalries, that felt like some of what I've seen in middle school.
Oh, wow.
The scheming behind each other, and the forming alliances, and so I don't know. It has that, and I think even in some families you're going to have that. To a greater or lesser degree, there is always, like I've always threatened to give every one of my boys a T-shirt that says, "Mom loves me best."
Give them all one. Colleen. It's like when I used to joke that anyone who wants to date me has to go into the battle arena and fight to the death. Whoever makes it out, I'm free on Thursday. If your face is intact.
You're not free on Thursday. You have book club on Thursday.
I have book club on Thursdays. It was a psych. KP Dub says literally pulled a shirt that says I'm Mum's favorite. So I think we've gotten to the bottom of that then, KP Dubs. You have been a ploy. You are a pawn in that.
All four of us siblings have that, and there's like 87 pictures of us at 4th of July parties, Christmas, whatever. We all, yeah, exactly.
It's so funny. My parents don't play games with any of it. We all the children know who the favorite is. I am Dad's favorite, Darcy's mum's favorite, and poor Jack. That's just how it's always gone. It's just an understanding. We all know that. I literally have PB tattooed on my wrist. It stands for Papa Bear.
You're the youngest, right?
I'm the youngest.
That tracks.
Papa Bear. Darcy was the child genius. Mum has a whole set of rules that apply to him differently than anyone else.
Is Darcy the oldest?
He's in the middle. He can't do anything wrong to Mum. Yep. And Jack was the test dummy, being the oldest. So they had to practice parenting on him, and then completely just changed accordingly for the rest. So he's recognized that. My brother Jack is very just. And when he was like, I'm 13 and I have the same bedtime as my 10-year-old sister. Like, something's up there. Jack is just. Yes. He is.
Jack.
Go Jack. Love Jack.
Nobody with the just Jack?
Oh, Will and Grace.
Thank you.
I got you. Yeah, it's, and like, Mum's like, I don't have any favorites. And you're just like, oh, all right. And Dad's like, doesn't participate in the conversation because I'm like, I love you. I love you. I love you.
His favorite is Password Child? That's great.
Darren started with Dune. Oh, wow. You did 6 weeks of that Dune book too. That's fun.
I didn't read it with the group though because I'd already read it. But I think that's when I started tuning in to book club.
And that's when you realized how unserious we were. Yeah.
Then I think I read the second, whatever we read after that, I think was my first actual read. I've read Dune a bunch of times, and so that's kind of what made me notice it, I guess.
Oh, Vaden, this is a support group for you now. I'll get you in touch with Jack. Vaden says, my parents definitely have favorites, and I'm not it for either of them. How does that feel?
Not that bad, really. I mean, my parents are super different from me, like completely different in every conceivable way. So it's not
you
like
the
we
oldest?
have. No, I'm the middle kid. I'm the one to get like you say for your brother. It's opposite for me. Like I get all sorts of complaints about everything from, and like my sister, who's the youngest, doesn't get them anywhere as much as I do, and my brother's oldest, who actually got much worse than me. He had a lot more issues than I did, but yeah. But he's still like, they like him more for other reasons. But yeah.
Is anyone a parent in here? Academic, I know you are. Do you worry? Oh, Colleen, you've had so many kids, grandkids, and great-grandchildren. Colleen, are you subtle about having favorites?
My kids think I have a favorite because my youngest son had a life-threatening medical condition.
So required more attention, yeah.
And he was really clingy. As I don't know if I told, they actually told him at one time that if he kept clinging to me that way, that I was going to get tired of him and give him away like I did to their brother Jose, who, by the way, never existed. They just made it up to scare him.
Oh my gosh, that's an after show story. What was the fabricated lie that you made up as kids? My middle brother, he looks so different to my oldest brother and I. I think I've mentioned this. My middle brother looks like Thor. He's like looks like a Viking. We always told everyone he was adopted, and no one would ask a second question. It was just so, oh yeah, that makes absolute sense. And I think it was like after school care where someone's like, how is it for Darcy being adopted? And Mum's like, what? What are they saying? And we're like, just making so much shit up. Oh, when I found out people would believe a lie, oh, that was dangerous. I had to get integrity after that one, but woo, I took the long way. Ooh. Next question. Oh, trust, perception, and manipulation are key themes. Which characters manipulate perception the most effectively, politically or strategically? Or was it Maude convincing you that this book was bad? I trust you will not perceive my manipulation. Which character manipulated perception the most efficiently, whether it's political or...
I think Thrawn had the most manipulation because he manipulated Timothy Zahn into thinking that he could not...
He was a character of substance.
Perceive emotions.
Oh, we're terrible.
Funny. when you mention that, it's actually kind of funny to me because it just occurs to me that the OG Thrawn trilogy from the 90s, right? It's called the Thrawn trilogy, and Thrawn is like the favorite character. But if you go back and read it, he is not a central character at all.
That's the same thing here. We were just saying it should be called the Chiss Ascendency.
And then, but see, the thing is I feel like in this, and like I haven't finished it because I've been so stinking busy, but it feels like Zahn is trying to make Thrawn a central character, and I just think he's better as a plot device to move the thing. Like his abilities and you know whatever are better as a plot device to kind of move the overall story arc as much instead of being the story arc.
I think Vanessa said it the best. Where Thrawn is too perfect, therefore cannot grow as a character, therefore is boring. And you're right, like the characters supporting Thrawn, getting influenced by Thrawn, learning from Thrawn, that's where the true growth is coming from. But your centralized character, therefore, is uninteresting. Agree, disagree?
I agree, 100%.
Agreed.
Great. How does Timothy, moving on to, we got 10 minutes. Writing and style. How does Timothy Zahn balance military science fiction with character-driven storytelling? Battles happen.
Yeah, balance isn't the word I'd use. I think like there are battles that are awesome, and then there's the rest of
For all my audiobook listeners, was there music or was there not music? Because when there was music, shit was happening. And then there's no music, it was not happening.
Was the music just there to make it seem more dramatic than it actually was?
Well, he would suddenly talk a little bit more energetically, and then the music would support it.
You'll have to go back and read the battles in the physical novel and see if they're more dramatic on page than they were with the music.
KPW goes, whoa, there were characters? I think Timothy Zahn can excel better when describing the battles than the character development. Were there chapters or a scene that particularly stood out for its prose or pacing? I would say yes, but standing out for the wrong reasons. Pacing problems are obvious in this book. You can tell when it starts to lag. You can tell when the interest starts to wane. The pacing does affect the story. Colleen, did you have a nap today? We're going to have to start prioritizing and scheduling naps. I prefer an hour. I like a clean hour at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is where I thrive. Only if I have one coffee. If I have 2 coffees, I can't nap. This is currently a no nap mode. Look at the eyes. You can tell. You can tell. I implore everyone. I just think, why didn't we learn about siestas? I'm not a nap person, says Darren. Darren, I will fight you. You don't strike me as a nap person. You also strike me as someone that doesn't ever need 8 hours of sleep. Am I right? No, you do like sleep. You like sleep.
I go to bed early, and then I get.
Oh, you're an old person.
Yes.
You're healthy? How could you?
He gets 9 hours. Yeah.
I get 8 hours of sleep every night, or I wake up naturally after I've had a good night's sleep. So I've never.
When's bedtime?
Generally, I just go.
When's bedtime?
Clock.
What? 10's good. 10's good.
I get into bed at like 9:30 and I read for an hour and then I go to sleep. And then I wake up at 7.
We've spoken about this. I have an alert that goes off at 9:25 that literally pings me and says, Bing, grab a book, head to bed.
My phone says it's your bedtime at 11 p.m. and I lay in bed for 2 hours.
No.
Zero problem actually going to sleep.
I can have a great 8 hours sleep and still nap like a beast. Just like the notion of a siesta, so good. So good. I didn't mean to call you out like that, Colleen.
Well, I'm just curious now. Do you guys, is that based on like eating habits? Like, do you guys eat like a big lunch beforehand?
If I have gluten, yeah, I will pass out. I ate a sandwich once and slept for 2 hours.
Oh my God, that sounds phenomenal.
Sandwiches. Just depends on
if I could just eat a sandwich and then take a nap, it would be great. Unfortunately, the only thing that's guaranteed to put me to sleep is federally illegal.
Oh. I was like, Thrawn, what? No. Oh. They're very different. That's after show conversation. Tim, we are recording and broadcasting.
That's why I didn't say what it was.
Good, thank you. Well, thank you. Academic says you can tell when the pacing starts flagging. What? I just wake up chapters later and realize somewhere, some numbers of chapters ago, that the pacing started getting wonky. Wow, that was a boring sandwich.
Just basic ass ham.
I did have a deli sandwich, and the amount of prosciutto, it was like the equivalent of 7 tongues. It looked like 7 tongues of meat. Whoa, that just yeeted out of my sandwich so fast. No one needs that much.
Why tongues? Why
Because
tongues?
they're
is a
same color and
description?
consistency.
Yeah.
Should be. That seems wrong. Like tongues are supposed to be like somewhat dense-ish, and like prosciutto should be supposed to be very thin. And
Yeah, but they pack it down so much. It's like a wad of tongue.
It was a Reuben
wow.
prosciutto.
sounds some bad. Yeah.
Bartleby says, I screwed up. I started a different Thrawn book and was so confused with how it connected when he was hanging around with Vader. Which one was that? That was the 2017 ones? Oh, tell us about those, Bartleby. Vader? That would be nice. That's
You hung
so
out with Vader in these series.
technically. That is a technicality, though. Zahn often avoids traditional good versus evil binaries in this trilogy. We can very much agree with that. Academic, you were saying earlier, is Thrawn the baddie? It is not good versus bad. I get really creeped out when it was Jixus talking to his follower about the blessing and the cleansing. What was their language, their terminology, where it's like
enlightenment.
Yeah, I hate that shit. I hate we need to eradicate everything for the sake of enlightenment. People who are like blindly brainwashed like that, where it's like the blood can't stain my hands because I'm using religion or enlightenment as my shield, and you're like, So
his crew would do nothing without his orders, and then like when he would say anything, they just would respond with "I obey." And then when he's killed, they basically just all collapse on their chairs and just sit there like pouting.
I actually really liked that moment where he's like,
yeah,
I am your master.
Like, do you guys want to get revenge? Like, basically, like, get off your ass. Let's do something.
But there was like a protocol in place, like because they were blindly following. They're like, we have to follow. We need a leader, and he's like, it's me. I am your leader. Okay.
He's like, it was basically like, will any leader work? And all of a sudden they're all like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. What's your orders?
Yeah, we'll follow.
I think that part is actually pretty good in the book because it shows like a good contrast. Because usually, like in these are the villains kill G, so they're very much on the obey the leader's side and do whatever at whatever cost. And it's opposite of Thrawn, who's like he encourages his people to disobey him if necessary, to do whatever they think is right, essentially to take actions, to be independent, to think critically. So it's a great. I like that contrast.
Well, also it makes sense that Jixter sees a people that are like an ant colony or like the bees looking for a queen bee, and it's just like that's so easy to integrate yourself as a leader and be like, cool, they all work for me now.
Oh yeah, super
but
easy
how quickly to also like lose them as well. And that's what's interesting, where it's like Thrawn earned loyalty, earned sort of respect, and they don't blindly follow him. They follow him to the ends of the world, like at all cost. Which makes sense that Thrawn then had to be the sole person in exile, because it's like they all look to him. He is, the top of command. Yeah, so I kind of get that. But he's also not fazed by being exiled at all. He's kind of like, oh, good, because I'd really like to follow this thing that I've been paying attention to. So he always just has like that backup plan. And because he has no attachment, exile is just being pushed into another direction. Like he's got no emotional response to being exiled.
Yeah, everyone around him is like, hey, this is some horrible thing that happened
to you.
Like,
we're so sorry. And he's like, I feel great.
Yeah, it's
because they're not his friends, and the only friend that he had is gone. So it's like he has absolute detachment. Yeah. Did not having good versus evil throughout this and having that ambiguity, did it affect your understanding of the Chiss and the galaxy at large?
No, because everybody's always the hero of their own story. So if we're telling this from the Chiss point of view, they'll always consider themselves the good guys and everyone else the bad guys. And even if we know that Thrawn is supposed to be this big, huge arch nemesis of the rebellion or whatever, again, in this story, he's just another one of the Chiss. And he's trying to do it for the greater good or whatever. And some people
the
like him
lesser
and his
evil.
people. And like the military respects his genius, the civilians hate his lack of tact or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But there's no good, there's no evil, just meh.
Okay. Speculation
I
and connections to the. Oh, sorry, did I cut someone off? What's up, Colleen?
Yeah, I think when we talked about character growth, we didn't see it in Thrawn, but like I thought it was really interesting to see Roscoe's character arc.
Agree, actually.
yeah.
She was interesting because she held a grudge against Aralani. And like that was some beef. And hearing Aralani's perspective, I liked that moment where Ozzy was basically like talking to Roscoe and Aralani could hear it. And so it's like such a gossip move. It's like, I don't know if anyone's done this, but when you're bitching about someone in a text message and you send it to the person you were bitching about instead of the person that you wanted to share it with. No, don't recommend the backpedaling. But that was like a really interesting thing to learn about why Roscoe is such a just like hung up on past shit. But it ends up being a hero, the hero that survived. I thought that was like a really interesting part of this whole, and like she was a reluctant hero as well. She's like, that's not what it's about. And you just kind of like, But I think that that's a good sign where it's like, do you evolve? Do you sweat the small stuff? Are you going to be completely changed to your past and it holds you back because you can't move past things? Or are you going to move forward? But yeah, I like that you brought that up because she was a really interesting character. Speculation and connections to Star Wars universe. How do the events of Lesser Evil inform Thrawn's later decisions in the Empire? Do you see his time in the Ascendency as a preparation or a contrast to his service under the Emperor? I kind of don't think we got enough of his relationship with leadership. Because of his detachment, I would want to know what the chink in Thrawn's armor is that Sidious is able to manipulate. Because I don't, that's not a dangling carrot for me. Enlighten me, Tim.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't necessarily think that Sidious Palpatine, like the Emperor, manipulated Thrawn.
Just
again,
recruited.
I'm missing some. Yeah, recruited him and then banned him to patrolling the Outer Rim because he was an alien. I mean, we don't really get any Thrawn.
No, he's not in the inner circle.
We don't even hear about Thrawn until well after the Emperor is dead and gone.
What's Thrawn's fascination then? What is Thrawn's fascination with? Because he's only learnt it from Anakin. What do you think Thrawn's pull is to turn his back on the Chiss to explore? Because he mentions in the last 20 pages, sorry, academic, he's a little fascinated with the dictatorship. He's like, here is a galactic empire where they all fall under one person's rule.
I think it plays into how he has a problem with the politics, and the Syndicure, the leadership body of the Chiss, is like hundreds of representatives who debate in a committee forever to get anything done. And Thrawn's like, wait, if I just had like one general telling me what to do, we could just figure this out in a couple minutes and go get it done. So again, that just goes into his. And then, yeah, in the books that are no longer canon, we don't find out about him until like 5 years after the Return of the Jedi. But now in the new canon, we've seen him in Rebels and he's in Ahsoka, so he's around. But I think the lure is what he said in the last few pages where he's like, I would do anything to protect the Ascendency. Along those lines, they don't know anything about Jix Ixtis or the Grisk people.
Mm.
He's wondering if this larger, bigger empire out there has better resources and maybe does know. So he's either going to
Information.
he's either going to try to get the information or get technology that he can use to get the information. So I think that was the draw.
Mm-hmm.
It was a real easy recruitment.
Okay. I like that. Do you believe that Thrawn's exile was truly earned, orchestrated, or inevitable? And the fact that it was McKeith who was supposed to be an ally.
The answer to that question is yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Could you see any characters from the Ascendency trilogy appearing in any future Star Wars projects?
Thrawn.
Well, about the time Ahsoka season 2 comes out, Shuri would be about 20.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe even a little bit more, 25, like 25 or 30 maybe. Alias would be maybe like 40.
Mm-hmm.
And they're alive. They could be interesting characters. I don't know if they'll do stuff like that, but it would be interesting if Thrawn, so we did get an ending a little bit where Thalius and Shuri go to the Seekers program being run by Thrawn's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to dig more deeply into what's going on and how her connection with the Magus actually brought out more of her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Thrawn finds Chiss equivalent of a Jedi down the line from this.
Okay. Toby Steve 46, thanks so much for the follow. Welcome to Maude's Book Club. Toaster Poster says Anakin wanted one person to control everything too. It's like poetry. They rhyme. Vaden says that does tie into the real world quite a bit. Dictators can make quick decisions, unlike governments with many members. As we've seen time and time again, those quick decisions often end up being the detriment of the people, though. What have we said? What have I always said? The number one person who suffers or dies in war are children. It's never the people making the decisions. It's the innocent people. It's children. It's civilians. So fucking stop it. There's supposed to be a ceasefire for a goddamn reason. Ugh. What's happening is a goddamn genocide. On that note, that's time. So, June, we have new books. It is Pride Month. I want everyone to be at least 5 to 10% more gay for June. While we read these books. Vaden's like, what? 5% more, just a little bit more gay for June. I've got it in my hot little hand. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This book does not come out until June 10. It is our main book. It is big. And guess what? The chapters are not chaptering. So it is different perspectives in different timelines. And the chapters are not succinct. So it doesn't go 1 to... let's say 55. The chapters will be Alice 1 2 3 4 5, another character 1 2 3 4, another character 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then another character again 1 2 3. So I've managed to find page numbers and I've done my best to find the halfway mark for this one. The voice cast, Sprinkles, you would be happy to know Julia Whelan, who does all of Emily Henry's books, is a character in the audiobook, which I also will be picking up. But is this the one that's signed? I got it signed by Victoria. I think one is signed. If it's not that one, it is another one. I took 2 books. I do have a spare. I think I'm going to do a giveaway for the second book. The other book is a bonus book, and we'll be doing that one first because it is a short book. This is how you lose the time war. It's science fiction, warring factions that have access to time jumps. I think the audiobook's only like 5 hours, not even 4.5 hours. So, and that's at 1 speed. The Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil comes out June 10. So we will be covering that. I think we've already posted the schedule. But June 12, we'll be doing This Is How You Lose the Time War. June 19 and 26, we'll be covering Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. So we'll have a spare week. In that week, we'll do a game on stream, and I'm going to be playing some video games on Twitch, doing all that fun stuff. If you need to be sold on this book, it's Toxic Lesbian Vampires. Very excited for that. There are people who have advanced reader copies, and they're saying that there's a gamut of emotions, and like people are crying by the end of it. So just you've been emotionally prepared for that. But people are saying it is spectacular. So really excited to get stuck into that one. And we've got a nice little balance as well. We're going to get Mama Garrett. She's going to come on for the part 2 of this one. I'm getting my mum to read about toxic lesbian vampires. Why not? Let's dig into the psychology of that. So that's your homework. This is How You Lose a Time War. You have like 2 weeks pretty much to read that book, which is a lot more generous than 3 books in 1 month. It was a learning. There's a learning curve. We do try new things every now and then with book club. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we learn. We learn together. Regards, Darren
Been
says.
okay, but you got sick and we had to skip one.
Oh, I know. I got very sick. I was very sick. V.E. Schwab is great.
And tech
Darren.
issues.
And tech issues. I couldn't even stream. Couldn't even fucking stream. That was annoying. I still have to do
Spectrum.
Oh, the whole thing. I was like, well, there goes my entire career. All right, I guess I'll become a nurse. I don't know. I was just like, whatever. V. Schwab is fantastic. We've covered Vicious, her duology, which is going to become a trilogy soon. We covered that for the first book for Nerdist. The second book, I believe we did that. Did we do the second book for Geek Bomb? We only did the first book. Oh, I loved that series. It's Dark X-Men. And we also did Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Loved that book. And we did The Darker Shade of Magic as a bonus book, which was a little Thrawn for me. I listened to the whole thing, couldn't tell you 2 things that happen in it. But they're in the bookshelf behind me. So right there. So I can read that again. Hold on. What is this one then? Fragile Threads of Power in the same universe, yeah?
Yeah, it's a series following the girl from the first trilogy of Darker Shade Magic.
Good.
It's
Good.
She's only got 1 book out in that one so far.
Okay. She's busy. She's churning those books out. Come on, Pierce. I'm going to try and lock in an interview with Pierce as well, hopefully in the next month. We've got V.E. Schwab booked in for July as well. And I've emailed a few more authors, so TBD on that one. I tell the members first. If you want to be a member, no better time. Head to patreon.com/Maude's Book Club. We're going to be playing for the Game On stream. We're going to be doing another tabletop D&D-esque, but DCC, Dungeon Crawler Carl, on Friday from 4 till 6, I believe. Oh, shoot. And tomorrow I'm interviewing the cast of Life of Chuck. I got to prepare my questions for that. I watched the movie 2.5 weeks ago when I was really sick, so I have no idea what happens in it. I forget. Got to write things down. I've got to write things down. Let's raid. Who's on tonight? La 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 la. Wow, Elden Ring? That's a name I've not heard in a while.
Ever seen this guy named Jacques Z Whipper who plays songs with the crack of his whip?
Shut up.
He's streaming softball right now.
No. Our softball game got delayed twice in a row because they can't get the field lights to work. And we're going up against that.
Do you play at night?
No, it's like make it half an hour early. The sun won't even set. It's so dumb. We're not doing the next season. Anyway, I'll talk about it in the after show. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Are we raiding? Did it raid? Are we raiding?
I don't see any raid.
I didn't raid for me at least.
30 seconds.
I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Are we raiding? Join.
It said you used it, but I don't.
There's a bar moving across my screen. You're not there yet.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I clicked it though, and it just
Who
says
is
leave.
Jens?
She's an Aussie streamer playing Elden Ring at the moment.
But
It was Elven Ring.
Why is it not raiding? Because I'm not logged in.
Because she signed off.
Oh shit! Really? Did
I
she?
don't, I don't know.
Story of my life.
No,
it
she's
would
still,
just
she's
be
still on.
appropriate.
I don't know what's going on.
And the
I'm just
timer's
gonna-
almost counted down. Just hang on. Just hang on.
Give
It's
it a
almost there.
second. Patient,
I think it
Padawan.
runs out. Does it just automatically do it? Does it? I thought it
Yes.
runs out and it's like, you blew it. You had one job and you couldn't even do it. Oh, it did it. Okay.